It's hey. Yeah. So the Maimon is explaining the pasuk. Essentially, it's a pasuk in the Hosea connected to our pasuk because the pasuk begins with the words Acharey Havayeh Yelecho. Follow the Eibishter. But the achana for that is Ka'arye Yishag, like a lion when he roars, Ki Yishag, for when he roars. So it's a double mention, one of the questions. V'yechad u'banim b'yom, and they will quickly come, the children from the west, and they will come like birds from Mitzrayim, like a dove from Ashur. And he explained that that's the Avodah of Yira, Yechadu is Malashim Charoda. So the achana to all of that is the Arya Yishak. So the Nakuda of the explanation that's brought until now has been explaining that the Arya is the Pnei Arya should be Yamin, right? The Arya that's in the Merkava. So what's the Yishak? So explain the Srafim Oimdim Imal, like two explanations. Just to clarify, as we said yesterday at the beginning of the Shir, but some of you weren't here, so I'm going to repeat it again. Srafim Oimdim Imal, the Shaila is, how is it possible that the Srafim should be higher than, as Yechezkel describes, I saw the Lord Adonai is sitting on the Yeshev Alakise, and they're higher than Adonai. What does it mean? And so yes, the Shem Adonai is Malak Alalme. That's their Moker. So Srafim Ba'imdim Mimal, they stand above it. How can you be higher than your Moker? Because if you grasp your Moker, your source, like any idea that you grasp, so you have mastered it in that sense, Mimal, in the sense of mastering it. Perhaps also in the sense of, if it's a source, your direct source, your ongoing direct source that you understand and master, that means you can affect it. You can manipulate it, you can affect it, because you're relatively valuable. You're a consequence of your source, so you can affect it. Midas can affect Seichel, even though they're born from Seichel. At any rate, so the first type Srafim Endim in Ba'ala is that the Srafim, the law goes on their direct Moker, Shem Adonai, and they stand above it because they fully grasp it. The second explanation was that does not pale the Yishak. When you understand something, so there's an excitement, but not the Gewalt, the Yishak, the cry. So the cry, he explains, is because the Srafim, in addition to being Masik, the Pnimius, their Makar Achayis, in other words, a Malak Alalmin, they also have a Hasoga / Hakara, not Hasoga as internalized grasp, but Hakara in the truth that the whole Malak Alalmin is only Hashem and Ha'or, and that really Elikus is Bligvul, and they appreciate that. And they're in the state of this crying out, of this desire, to be absorbed. This is the Rotzoi, to be absorbed in the Sheirush HaMokeh. So Srafim Oimdim Mimal Loi. Now the word Mimal is a different type. The word Mimal in the first Pirush meant that they mastered the level of Loi. They master the level. They grasp Malak Alalmin. They appreciate Eibush Tesvidus and so on and understand them and experience them in a pneumistic way. The second type of Mimal is a more literal type. Mimal, that they stand way above Loi, Shem Adonai. Loi goes on Shem Adonai. But Mimal now goes on Sevu Kalamin, above Shem Adonai. And that's where they stand, because in Bakam Shertzenu Shalodom, Shalom Nimtza. Since they want to be connected to the Eibishter on the level of Seviv Kalalmin for his deeper and truer Gilui, so therefore, in some sense, they're connected there. Clear? So the word mimal in the first pirush means the master of the, above it in the sense having grasped it. And now that's where they stand. They stand at their shoydish, shemadnai, and they understand it. The second h'tsh is and that's the yishag. Above him, they have a soga beyond the direct makar of chayis. Is that clear? Yeah, we said this yesterday. This would be. Okay. And then there was a whole arichas, beautiful arichas, why the Ari is a non-kosher animal. It's higher than this. Also answered why this only the Arya is. All arichas here. Why only all the malachim? Why only the Arya of the seraphim? Because he's thinking of Gilui. He is Yamin. And therefore he's Masig. He's Masig. The more the Gilui, the more he understands it and appreciates it, the more he appreciates that's only a ha'ara, the greater the Yishag. Mashahinkim Pnei Shoir. So the Shoir should be Merkava, that's Gvur and Tzimtzum. And that is his bondness that remains in the Yizbondness of a Malakalam. Lacking, so taken, as it were, because of the Tzimtzum. So taken by the experience of a Malakalam, and it must speak. It's not even the consideration of, because it's so fulfilling, that this is only a ha'ara, and okay, there's a knowledge, They know there's an Eibishter, and there's a whole process of Sev Kalamin. It's not my world. I'm very happy here in the Havana and the experience of Alikus and Malakalam. This is similar to the Medrash, the Maimer, the Alfnissen Maimer, the Pikeach, and non Nasiv Malka. It's not like the other ministers don't know that there's a melech. There's a melech that sits in his chamber. But all of the levels of the palace are so satisfying that there's no desire to go further. That's because of the tzimtzum. The tzimtzum pales that revelation in such a way that that is fulfilling. And that's the level of the shoyer. He himself is a product of the tzimtzum. Hashenkin, the Aryeh, Tzad Yamin, is connected to Gilui. So he knows, he understands, appreciates the boundaries of the likus that he is experiencing. But because it's the whole likud is Oyer, so Oyer begs and says, there's a Oyer abligvol from where all this comes. Not lost on Pnei Aryeh should be Yamin. In the world of Kalim per se, of Tzimtzum, it's a theoretical knowledge, but this is my world. The Oyer doesn't shine, there's no lichtigkeit, there's no illumination, direct trace to direct experiential, or at least to be exposed to the Oyer and its whole process, which is Mamale comes from Seva. That you only appreciate that if your world is the world of Oyer. If your world is, I want to understand, and it's because no blaming the Pnei Shoy, but that is a product of Tzimtzum, Kalim. That's who you are. Finished. I'm very happy like this. And with this, he explained all the Meiredik Inyonim of why first he said, remember how the process went. The Shaila, why the Aryeh is not kosher, it's a higher Shaylish. The first answer was, he's looking for something.
I have a meeting with NGM before you leave. Sorry.
He's probably in his office.
It's long. It's okay.
He'll open it probably at 8:45. Yeah, you're welcome to sit here. So the first teretz was what? Help me. What's the reason why the Ari is a behemoth meya? It's like Shviras HaKelim.
Like the body,
The body is not a keli for the oil. So the body is his words, is toidef and doidus.
we explained why the body wasn't the keli. That was
The first beer, not a keli because it's gvul, it's a body, it's a guv gashmi. So of course not a keli for such a gamarno. That's the first level of the beer. Like Shviras HaKelim. Tzutzik Dusha fall very deep and embedded in Dvarim Gashmi. Similar to that notion because of the Shvira. But then he added in the Kudah that it's the upshot, the Maila should be done. And we didn't go into a lot of arichas here, and interesting enough, there's no references to Adam Mekoides, because namely, as it suggested, the classic example, the classic Shviras HaKelim is the keli is incompatible with the oil. That's why there's the Shvira. He adds over here, no, that the keli is masim to the oil, and the Shvira is dafka because of the oil. And the keli is appreciation of the oil, not despite it, because of it. That the keli is masim to the oil, the fiyad of the oil, and therefore the tremendous bittul of the kelim of in toil. So what does this mean? It doesn't elaborate, but the chud of the pshat is, as he concludes, that the Ari being toiref, doidus and toiref, the fun of malachra, which is about the zev. I told him, Yaakov says in Binyamin, zev yitrav. He's like a wolf that snatches. The Medrash says from the prey behind it's in front. That's the remes to Teis Shabbos. The Shabbos we should snatch from Friday and also from Motzei Shabbos. So this Indian. This is the remes in the pasuk. One of the remes. Akoponim. So in the Pnimis and Yonim, the Indian is the Indian of Ishapcha. That the Aryeh is able to take the menagid and transform it. First defeat him, transform him. Akoponim deal with the menagid. He said before that, but someone see this, someone who is bisyashvus. Bisyashvus means like the show was docile. In other words, his world is give him his as the pasuk says. And the ox has in front of him his food. Does he low? He doesn't. But the Arya, even when he has dafka, when he has it, that's when he's yishak. The opposite. What's the Indian? The Indian is that the Pnei Shor is satisfied. The Indian of the Shor is satisfied. Someone whose Havayeh is basically his own personal agenda, whatever level that is. The highest level of agenda that he, people say, I don't do this for any other reason, because I do because I want to. It's the ultimate self-indulgence. I don't do it because of any consideration. I do it because I want to. It's ultimate self-serving. It's so blind that it's actually considered a virtue. It's touted as a virtue. So such a person, there's a menagid. No, there's a menagid. It's an imperfect world. It's an imperfect world. As long as it doesn't impinge on his world, it's tolerated. Dafke, the the Aryeh, who the head feels the oil, this gilui. So he cannot tolerate if there's a menagid today, and that's the pnimius and the maliyusa of the Torah, v'doides, the fond of Melachra. He deals with the menagid, vanquishes, transforms. It's already a higher level. Akoponim. So he's saying the non comes out is that the behemoth tmeya component of the Ari is a mila. It's the mila of dealing with the world of tumah, and even there vanquishing it and ultimately transforming it. The chura that comes out, that's the pshat here.
That's in their hachno bittul. I mean, bittul usually connotes something, that's it's not just about his agenda.
Yeah, so there's levels to bittul. Hachno bittul means he's a nice guy and does what he's told. And he's a nice person. He's not going to, he's not an aggressive person. He follows all the rules. So he's following all the rules. That's hachno bittul. It doesn't mean bittul in the sense that we're talking here now, bittul to the rots and the alien, and therefore the intolerance and the aggressiveness and the anger of injustice and so on.
Could be a bittul to the. Maybe we should create the world this way. There's this maga.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah. My thing.
Yeah. Who am I to make a change? I have to take care of myself, my family. So not bittul in the virtuous sense that it's usual, that we usually speak of bittul. But it is a bittul. He's a bittul tikiyid, a humble Jew, a nice fellow. Nicest guy you're ever going to meet. But his feathers, ain't ruffled. He's not agitated. Unless provoked. Again, the shirt, if he's provoked, of course he gets agitated. And boy, actually stronger than the Arya. When the ox, it afterwards bekech shur, the lion can't produce such a yield.
That's because it can't be contained. It's because there's no road.
Yeah. And he's not, But the shirt, if you antagonize him, watch out. But as long as he's not antagonized, super nice guy. Hashenkin Dari is saying the pnimius of him is this aggressiveness, virtuous aggressiveness. Okay. So now, do we do Ace Dalet yet? We did or we didn't?
Dalet.
I can't done here.
Dalet, yes.
We did Dalet. Oh yeah, this we just reviewed now. So I say we're up to that. We're up to say we went further even though you say. Okay, I say. So, folks, you have it. So I say, so you have different page numbers if you're using from what I sent. Because the pasuk continues. So one of the questions was, and I was going to address it over here, why it mentions the word Yishak twice. Again, let's just read the pasuk. The pasuk reads, Ka'arya Yishak, Yehu Yishak. Like the lion when he roars, period. Like an introduction to the pasuk. That's the pshat. For when he roars, then they tremble and they come from the west and from Mitzrayim, like a bird from Mitzrayim, and like a dove from Asher. He explained the diukim of all of that. But he didn't explain why the second reference, introduction, and then Kihu Yishak. Because of the pasuk continues after the opening words, like the lion when he roars. Then it says, "Ki for or when who Yishak when he roars." So who loshen nela? He, the grammatical term, I don't remember exactly how, but nela means concealed. He, when you're talking about he, the person not in your presence. When you say you, obviously this person's in your presence. So when it's in grammar, what is it called? Third person, which means he's there but not here. Nel, I'm concealed. So what is that inyan? Mean b'pnimi saying yonim. Sheshaygu l'maylagam shaygus ha'aryeh shaygazu. Sorry, this cry is even higher than the shayga of the Arya. The shayga of the Arya, we said, is his desire for the connection to Inichel and Seviv Kalam. But who is higher still? Why? We're clear? Where we're going with this? At the end of the day, even Seviv Kalam, for which the Arya is pining for and crying out for and wants to be connected, it's still a which is Shaykhs to Eilamas. But didn't we just say it was Seviv Kalam? Answer. Even though we explained that the true Shaig is not Mamala Kalam, that doesn't induce a cry, that induces a satisfaction, excitement, but not a Shaig and not a Gewalt. So he said that that's Mitzad Afla, said Asev, that's because he appreciates that Afla. Afla means the wonder of the Asev, which he recognizes and wants to connect to, the Yid. Still, at a Gamber, Asev, Shaykh La'ilamis. Even Seviv is connected to Ilamis. Shalach Nikra B'Shem. Yeah, Seviv Kol Almin, how is it described in the Zohar? A level of alikus that transcends all the worlds. Now, the fact that you say that transcends all the worlds implies a connection, not direct but indirect. Again, like the word infinite itself implies a relationship with finite. It's measured by the fact that it's not. So this is still Chitzonius Havayeh going on Etzem here. He's still Acharei Havayeh. No Masha Kosef Ki Hu Yishon. Who, him? A reference to Atzmus Muhus. This is the true Amitis HaSev. Shalamayim Megeder Sev Kol Almin, the true infinite. There's no language anymore here, but which is higher even than Sev Kol Almin. What is it? Mitzad the Neshama. We're talking about Malachim. What's the whole point? The whole point is to translate this in our own Havayeh. Here we're talking about the cry that comes from the Yechidah Benefesh, soul essence. There's a level of Chaya that corresponds to Seviv Kalam. It's also transcendent. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama are conscious faculties. Chaya Yechidah are both Keiches Makifim. But in Keiches Makifim itself, Chaya is related to the Keiches. Chaya is usually Rotzen. There's different levels to Rotzen, but B'chlal, the Rotzen is, I want something outside of me. That's what will means. I want something. So it's already what? Not the Etzem HaNefesh Mamish. And Yechid is not I want. Yechid is I am. I'm a Yid. I'm a part of you. So this is the true Shaige. This is Kihu Yisha. So it's Melamata Lamaila. First, there's the Havayeh Ka'arya Yisha. That is the abundance and the call and the desire to be Nichlal in the Likus, which is higher than the world. Seviv Kalam. Then there's the Kihu Yisha that he cries out for who. From the Eibusher, he says, as he describes it here, that's his desire. That's the Gival. Mamshe, because of the Pasuk, therefore continues. And the children tremble. All the types that Rashi brings, they come quickly, they're drawn. They return. Both levels described just now. Shaig, the desire for transcendence, and then the desire for the very essential connection. Chaydrim in Yiddish, not a tight here. It's really not. The words are the Reish and the Daled are right. Reversed. I'm not sure if he means to play on the word or just saying, but often that happens. It often happens that Kabbalah, Chassidus, Medrash does this. Take a word, and then just by changing the order of two letters, a new meaning connected to the original word as well. But he means that here or not, I don't know. But akoponim chaydrim then permeate. Then in Yiddish. Take through and through. It's called Echad V'Echad Misrael. Every Yid is saying Chodesh Elul. So it begins because Chodesh Elul is the Gilois. He started off saying of your Gimel with the Serachamim and so on. So this permeates every Yid. Shenikru Bonim, every Yid that is called Hashem's child. And not only those that are behaving like children, feeling the closeness and in a relationship, in a conscious, experiential relationship with their father, not only such children. And even those that have been so far that they're in a state of personal golos, because as the pasuk says, like the bird from Mitzrayim. What's that? This is a golus because he's fakvetched, he's constraints, struggles of livelihood and so on. But more than that, the struggle of his own Yitzhahara, feels trapped. And like the dove from the land of Ashur, the Ashur Meloshin, Acharay, happy, fortunate. That's a golus. That's a golus of the kind of Vayishman Yeshurun, and Yeshurun referring to Yidden became fat Vayivat, and Yivat means to kick, literally, to kick something, to not just rejection, but it's the strong word of rejection. Meaning to say that he's so caught up in materialism, so and doesn't want to hear of ruchnius, doesn't want to hear of demands and of prohibitions. Vayivat, leave me alone. Even such a yid is moved in a gambem nasacharodo. So even in such a yid, the trembling or charoda, as he says, it permeates. Haba besiba shages Aryeh. It comes as a result of the cry of the Aryeh. So what is he saying? He's saying that the Eibishter stirs the Yechida, the soul essence of every Yid, and it cries out at the level of Yechida, the two levels. First, the cry for Seva Kalalmin. There's this deep, inarticulated cry that my life is empty. It's empty with all the things that I have in the Golos of Ashur, or even the Golos of Mitzrayim. And if I get what I need, and then it's going to be, that's it. That's all there is. The whole problem is I have to make panasa, and not satisfied, that's it. That's the end to life. My life is achieved. There's a feeling that there's something more. That's the Seva of Kalam. It doesn't even know what. Out of this, I've got to go. And then even a deeper, this is not articulated. Even a deeper, it's not even that he wants to go out of his present matzav of golos, whether it's the golos of wealth or the golos of stress. But I want you. It's the Eibishter that I'm seeking. You have to appreciate, friends, as well. I know it's not lost on you, but you have to appreciate it. But when the Rebbe says a Maimer, the Rebbe saying the Maimer is Ma'ed of the Indian. In this Maimer, he's stirring the Yechida of every one of us. Not merely then when the Maimer was said, but as we learn the Maimer and say the words. In the words of Chazal, Sif Seisov, Doivas Bekever, the Tzaddik, when you quote his teachings, so his mouth is moving. He's mouthing the words, Bekever, which is a very big thing. Not like Baruchni, is the Neshama, is obviously responding to us saying the words and Mamshech, the Indian. But it just occurred to me now that the Dik is that even the Guf Gashmi Bekever is also responding. That means that it's brought down mamish in our world. Klol is in Shagas Aryeh and Bavis Adam. So now the general Havayeh, translating in Havayeh, Koshud Mavedes Akarbonis. It's the Havayeh of Karbonis. Why so? And what's Karbonis? Karbonis is giving of self. Sharin Yonish, specifically the Aryeh, because Sharin Yonish, the Aryeh who the Achel Korban. The lion consumed the korban. What's he talking about? What in Gemara? Yeah, the fire that descended. Times of the Mishkan and the first base of Mikdash, a fire would descend from heaven and consume the korbanos, and it would then remain hovering on the korbanos in the shape of a lion. So what's korbanos? Vinyan korbanos, Avedis Admo. So what's korbanos and Avedis? The pasuk says, Adam ki yakred mikem. We all know that Diuk should have said, Adam mikem ki yakred. A person amongst you, he wants to bring a korban. Here are the korbanos that he can bring. It, however, doesn't say that. It says, Adam, when a person ki yakred, if I bring a korban, mikem from you, implying vinyan akrovas and nefesh bahamis. So we have to bring our own nefesh bahamis, and as the pasuk goes on to outline the various korbanos. Chol prati asugim, the shoyer, there's the ox, kesev, there's the keves, kesev, the sheep, and then the is the goat. It's explaining chassidus, the different kinds of nefesh bahamis, different personalities. Truth is, we have all three of them. Everybody has all three. And the other animals as well. It's a question of what dominates: ox or the sheep or the goat. Actually, we learned. We had a couple of years ago a maimon that went into the pratim. Remember the pratim of describing the different kinds of nefesh bahamis or different aspects of nefesh bahamis, zeroing in on all of them. You don't remember? The bird there's a different maimon. It's a different maimon. That's the Ashay Tifcha, the maimon connected with the bris, which you said by your kids' bris, I think. That's how you remember it. You see. But the interesting was the goat that can't stay in one place. Sheep, you understand, docile kind of follow the leader. The ox we talked about here. Also, if you don't provoke him, he's okay. But just stay out of his way if you provoke him, and you'll see what is unleashed. But then there's the goat. The goat was the most fascinating. And the Maila Beruchni is the upshot of all of that. Simcha, etc. At any rate, so, but on the Nefesh Bahamis level, he's playful. There's this playful thing. Bored quickly. There's another entertainment. All of these things, the goat. Fidgety. An aspect of the Nefesh Bahamis. So all of these in Yonim, Shakulam Sichem Lis Krevim, they all have to be brought as a korban. What's the fire that's going to bring them? He's not capable, he seems to be saying here, of a revealed love, at least the innate love he speaks of in Tanya. We have to bring our korban, our behemoth. This innate love, which is the internal fire that burns in every Jewish heart, this is the internal lion that eats the korban. Even though, as was in the Mishkan and in the first base of Mikdash, at least at the beginning, a fire descended from heaven, so why do you have to bring your own fire? Says the Gemara, mitzvah lavim in a hedge. It's still a mitzvah to the hedge, the ordinary person. You have to bring your own fire. So what is that? What is the fire below? When you have a mesuteres, this is at least that hidden natural love, the instinctual love he speaks about from Perek Yud going further in Tanya. That much a person has to invoke. As explains it at length, that instinctual love is the recognition that I want to be connected, and if I be threatened, I would resist it. So I have to be threatened. Let me live a life that is in tune with this natural love. So Cholzeh concludes, so this is the Hachana. This is all the Hachana to the Havayeh of Achrei Havayeh, which is here, as he says, in all the various levels. He hasn't gone to the pratim here, which end with Ubaysi Dvokun, complete union and attachment. Shazui Hascholas Havayeh. No, so what's that Hascholas Havayeh is to hear the cry. To hear the inner cry of Yechidish Benefesh, and not to drown it with all the distractions, even holy distractions, certainly foolish distractions. but even holy distractions. But to hear the cry, and to hear the cry, the desire, as you said, for Soive, which means Poshet Aris Krich, to get out of the matzav that I'm in. And then more than that, ultimately, Hu Yisha, the desire from Yechidish ben Neshama for the Eibishter himself. And that's stirring. And to hear that cry, which is hearing the cry. And then to allow that and begin the process of Havayeh, as the Pasuk goes on to describe in the integrated Yiras Hashem and Avas Hashem, etc. Let's continue a little bit, or should we stop here?
I'm going to go.
You have to go. We have to tell the story. Okay, we'll stop here. Maybe we did. Okay, so we'll conclude Mitzvah Hashem on Monday and a Sunday.
Why is the getting out of the month of here? And it's just kind of like I see something like with I see something bigger than this.
Yeah, that this is.
I'm not sure what it is.
I know it's a likus. I know, yeah. What I do know is that it's not unbounded, and to get out of my straitjacket, whatever it is. Each one has his straitjacket. The desire to break out of his own, his own patterns, certainly negative patterns, and even good patterns. But if that defines me and I'm satisfied there, no. It is a gewalt. No, that's the gewalt. The first level of, there's 3 levels, you said. There's satisfaction, that's bachal, not a gewalt. That's it. The gewalt is first, it's sovev. Tomorrow's got to be different. The chassid that he concluded, they've quoted this so many times. That's the gewalt of the head of Sevav Kalam in Havayeh. But then that's the first step. Then it's the Hu Yishog. It's beyond even that. But he's saying, we have to remember always, it's not that in all of these madregas you leave the previous one, and that's everything. It all comes back to Atat. The Edzema, the Atzmitic connection must permeate all of the dargas. It's not a dismissal of the dargas. At the end of the day, it's dir b'tachtonim. It has to be taka.
So I was going to ask, and I think this might be an answer to that. Let me preclude the Einig and Havayeh, Einig in the Beit Hashem, but I guess there are levels where you will have Einig, but that's not enough.
It's not enough. What does it mean? It means, what's Vatatitzav? The Tainug has to be pervaded with, why Tainug? Why should I enjoy this? Because you want me to. It's the you want me to that has to permeate. That's an endless avodah, and not an easy one, because it's so enjoyable. Again, the anonasiv malka. It's easy to get stuck on. Gamalno. This is beautiful. I'm enjoying it, and that's where it ends. But to constantly, what's the value of me enjoying anything? Is because this is your desire. That's it. When you clap al chet, to make it, there's 2 places you can emphasize. The sin. I messed up. And I'm going to get punished. Whatever and I'm dirtied in this world, the next world. Or the lefanecha. That's the problem with the chet. That I did it in your presence. How could I have done this to you? That's what's wrong with the sin. Not that it's ugly and not that I'm going to get punished. That's not the problem. So it's ugly and you get punished. So what happened? So you won't get it. Lefanecha. I can't do this to you. This is what you want from me. So that is an endless avodah. That's what Atat Tetzaveh is, to bring the Atzmizdike connection of the Neshama. That's Moishe Rabbeinu's whole Indian, is to inspire this and nurture it. It should permeate every darga. Right? The two Mamorim go, Naresh Surim has to come down in Gvois HaShurena. The avodah of the Mois, that's where it counts. But if that's separate from the Reish Surim, then it has life of its own. Understanding, feeling, reward, Gan Eden, then we're missing the point. But if it's all because this is what you want, then it's all not just valuable. That's the kavanah, did it b'tachtonim. To bring this all down into every level of consciousness and existence. Bring what down? The truth that it's all you.